everyone. Welcome back to High School Backups Podcast. My name is Jake. I'm here with Kyle and Nick. You obviously cannot see our faces today, but we're back to do another mock draft. This time, we're doing the mock draft with trades. As you can see, I've selected all. Let's get this going. All right, boys. First things first, I think the Chicago Bears are just going to hold the first overall pick for Ransom. I don't think they're going to make this pick. I just don't see a world where they do. I think they're going to end up trading this first overall pick to the Indianapolis Colts, who have reportedly essentially just said they will do anything to go get their quarterback. And I think they want to be aggressive and go get the first round pick. On the mock draft, I'm only going to trade 1 and 4 because I think this is going to take a lot. I think there's going to be players involved. I think DeForest Buckner may be on the move for the Colts if this trade happens because the Bears are looking to gather assets and actually build out their team. Their defense is atrocious. And I think they stick with Justin Fields, trade down to 4. This is obviously going to take a lot more. We're only doing a first round draft, so I think 1 and 4 are the only things that would change the mock draft. So no matter what you see on the screen, this is going to be a lot more. This is normally going to include like a 2024 one, maybe this pick at 35, and maybe a pick down below and a player. But for right now, we're just going to do this. Why is this not working? There we go. This is being slow today. Give it a second.
I think it's a very interesting choice you did there, Jake, because I wouldn't necessarily see it happening with the Colts, but I think that's a fair. Out of everyone, I guess the Colts does make the most sense. So.
Well, I could see a number of teams trading up for this spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see the Raiders trying to trade up. I don't think the Lions would. I don't think the Seahawks would. I could see the Panthers trying to make a move up. There's a plethora of teams that could covet that number 1 spot. I'm also going to be a little different here. Obviously, my quarterback 1, which we'll do a later video on, is Bryce Young. I think the Colts might be a little worried about Bryce Young's frame. He's only 6 foot. He's 185, 190 pounds. He needs to bulk up a little bit for the NFL. So I think this actually comes down to whether they like CJ Stroud or Will Levis better. The Colts owner is reportedly in love with Will Levis, who I think is a Drew Bledsoe type of quarterback. And CJ Stroud is essentially the equivalent of Matt Ryan. So it really comes down to which one they prefer. I'm going to go with CJ Stroud here just because I think he's a better quarterback. I think they would be worried about Bryce Young's frame. So the first overall pick in the draft is going to be CJ Stroud to the Indianapolis Colts.
Say, Jake, I agree with the idea that a team will trade up. I think that the Colts make a lot of sense because I still think the Bears want to draft high. I still think that they want to get someone that's worth their time towards the top 5 end of things. I'd agree. The Cardinals won't touch anyone or highly unlikely. The Texans, there's a good chance they might draft a quarterback, but not a guarantee. I can't tell. There's no way they're that in love with Davis Mills, especially after this season. But I think that you're in the right area. I think the Colts would make a lot of sense. And I agree that CJ Stroud. The problem for me, and I wonder if you guys will agree with this. I know, Jake, we've talked about this a little bit, not back and forth, just in general, is Ohio State quarterbacks have a really bad rep once they get
Absolutely.
into the league. And so Alabama quarterbacks at this point do not have that same rep. Recently, they've come out and played pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is your likely MVP frontrunner if he doesn't get hurt. So I think, yeah, I get the idea, the build, and how they look, and the eye factor.
Yeah.
But I almost think that how they were raised, I guess, if you will, in the football system might be more important here.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I think Bryce Young is definitely on the board at this pick. For the sake of parity, we've done some mock drafts where Bryce Young goes first overall. I personally prefer Bryce Young. I think he's Drew Brees, but more athletic. His accuracy is great. He's a great timing passer. Sometimes when you see the timing get a little bit off, he gets a little bit shaky. CJ Stroud has obviously been thrown to the best weapons in college football. Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. There's a lot of talent at Ohio State. Not as much at Alabama. Obviously, they have talent. They play in the SEC, but it hasn't been as much as in recent years. And honestly, this pick could be Will Levis too, especially if the Colts do make that move to trade up. I do see the concern around Ohio State quarterbacks, but CJ Stroud gives me a lot of Matt Ryan vibes. He's great in the pocket. He's athletic, but doesn't really use it. I think CJ Stroud's going to be fine in the NFL. Like, I think he's going to be really good if he gets into the right system and develops. We know the Colts can develop quarterbacks. They've done it with Peyton Manning, they've done it with Andrew Luck. I don't like the system within Indianapolis is one of success, and the team around him is good. So I think CJ Stroud would be fine at this point. Moving to that number 2 pick of the Houston Texans, Nick, you talked about it. I mean, I don't think they're in love with Davis Mills, but I also think this roster is absolutely atrocious. So I'm not sure if the Texans take a quarterback at number 2. I mean, we've mocked it a lot. We've talked about it. This team is just not ready. I don't know if anybody else thinks about that, but like the entire roster needs work. It's not just the quarterback position. They're not great at any one particular position. I can't think of a position on the Houston Texans roster where they have just an elite guy that can go and win one-on-one battles, go and win one-on-two matchups. And so honestly, I think the Texans are going to go with a roster building here instead of just going for the quarterback and hoping that they, somehow miraculously come away with the next coming of Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I think this pick's going to be Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle out of Georgia.
I think that's a great pick. Jalen was pretty much unstoppable in the SEC all year long. He was pretty dominant in the championship game as well. So I think that's a great decision there.
I'll be honest, this feels like a Texans pick. It seems like the only good positions they've drafted, besides DeAndre Hopkins, is defensive lineman, and J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. So it kind of feels like this is a Texans pick that they would make, even though long term it might make more sense to do a quarterback. But in the short term, this feels like what's something they do.
Well, here's the thing, right? We also don't know if C.J. Stroud, first overall pick, is going to even declare for the draft yet. This is January 16th. The deadline is today. C.J. Stroud, Quentin Johnson, and Jordan Addison have all yet to declare for the draft. So we're going to see how that affects this too. I'm going to assume all of them announced today that they're going. C.J. Stroud being the biggest one. But with this Texans pick, again, they also pick at 12. If one of these quarterbacks falls, which at the very least Anthony Richardson is going to be there at 12, I think they're going to wait and start roster building. They did a good job drafting Derek Stingley last year. They've had a couple of good draft picks last year. They have 2 first-round picks this year. I'm going to err on the side of their team building rather than going and getting a quarterback. I think they've seen what happens with Jalen Hurts and, even Brock Purdy when they're put into the right situations where there's talent around them. Brock Purdy was quite literally the last pick in the draft last year, and he just won a playoff game. Absolutely insane. Love the story. But I think they're going to follow that model rather than just throw everything in a quarterback and hope it works. I think that's the better way to do it. The Texans may just go the opposite direction and draft Bryce Young there. I'm going to go with Jalen Carter. With the Cardinals at number 3, with the rumors that they may be trading DeAndre Hopkins this offseason, this could be another trade down spot where somebody wants to go and get a quarterback. This could be a roster building thing. I'm actually going to have the Raiders trying to move up here. And again, this is going to be one of those spots where there's going to be more than this. But again, this is only a first-round mock draft, so I'm just going to swap the first-round picks. This, again, is most likely going to take a second first and this second or this third to get this done and maybe a player. But we're going to have the Cardinals moving down. The Raiders are going to go up, get their quarterback of the future. I think this is where Bryce Young goes. And I don't necessarily see how they would draft Will Levis here. Again, this is another one where Will Levis could go above Bryce Young, but Bryce Young's accuracy, his ability to make plays outside of the pocket, his ability to run, his athleticism, everything about Bryce Young is great. And honestly, I think Bryce Young has that it factor that you can't really quantify. So I'm going to have the Raiders moving up to number 3 to take Bryce Young.
So you think, Jake, that this is where this could be a big splash? I agree with the thought process here. Given the Cardinals have talked about possibly trading Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, there is a decent chance they keep that pick and just take one of those high up quarterbacks. But assuming they stick with where they are now, no guarantees, right? I think that this makes a lot of sense for the Cardinals because really almost anyone that they're going to want to get is probably going to be there around that 7th pick anyways.
And my thought process, we'll go through it when we get there, especially if they're going to trade D-Hop. We'll get to it. I'm going to move to 4 in Chicago. And honestly, I think they're thanking their lucky stars. They moved down to 4, which is a huge risk for them based on the player I'm actually going to give them. This is where Will Anderson Jr. goes. Honestly, I think Will Anderson Jr. is probably the best player in the draft class. He is an unstoppable edge rusher. He's fast. He's athletic. He can get after the passer. Chicago needs edge rushers. They need every position on defense. Let's be very, very clear about that. Let's say they had gotten DeForest Buckner in this scenario, then they get Will Anderson Jr., and they're well on their way to adding a pass rush to that defense that is absolutely necessary. There are a lot of wide receivers down the board. They could also make a move. They have a lot of cap space. They can go get a wide receiver in free agency. I think Will Anderson Jr. goes here.
Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible decision. I was actually thinking with them trading down, they would probably take a wide receiver here, considering they're probably one of their biggest needs on offense.
It's their biggest need on offense besides the entirety of their offensive line.
That's why I said one of the biggest, because obviously their offensive line is a pretty big need as well. But like with the lack of star power that they have on wide receivers, I could totally see them drafting Quentin Johnson here. But I also see where you're going with getting that stacked up defense that they are most certainly lacking. So
I was gonna say, don't the Bears have a good amount of picks this draft? Like, isn't it?
They have a decent amount of picks, a decent amount of cap space. Like, I think this is more of a reflection of what I think they're going to do in free agency rather than draft. The Bears have always drafted defense well. They've never drafted offense well, ever. So I think they're going to go back to that mold of we'll invest in the offense during free agency, and then we're going to go get our guy on defense. And Will Anderson Jr. is that guy.
Yes, and I'll say it. I actually genuinely, if the Patriots do not resign Jacoby Myers, he is probably a Chicago Bear next year. That's my honest pick. So I actually would agree with your setup here, Jake, with how you set that up. I want to take a guess as to who your Seattle pick's going to be because we just watched them play. We just watched them play in the playoffs, where no one expected them to be, not even us. Right?
That's a fact.
We had them very low. We had them doing very bad. Geno Smith ended up being much better than they were supposed to be. However, they put up a pretty good amount of points against a pretty good team. I watched a majority of that game. I was paying attention for a majority of it. I watched Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, who are both very good wide receivers, just run past people. Like, literally, Deebo Samuel scored a touchdown by just being faster than anyone else on the field. I feel like they likely have to go corner here. That would be my guess. But,
it is... That's a great guess. It's a corner or edge, honestly. Now, we all know that I actually like Jamal Adams. I think he's a good safety. Not worth what they paid for him, but a really good safety. I watched Jamal Adams on... This is a Brock Purdy just Hail Mary, like, please make this catch. It's a bad ball. Jamal Adams, if he's any more athletic than he is, gets over there and picks it. He shouldn't have been in that situation anyway. The corner should have stayed with his man. It was man-to-man. I don't know if it was a wheel route. It ended up being like down at the inside the 10, I think. I don't know if you guys remember the play or not. It was either early in the second half or late in the first half. But this does become either a Myles Murphy or a Cam Smith pick. I'm not going to talk... Keely Ringo's falling down my draft board after what I saw late in the season with him. I really like Joey Porter. Cam Smith is a height, weight, speed guy. As you can see, he's 6 foot 188, can play the boundary, has incredible recovery speed. But all in all, I mean, they have Tariq Woolen at corner. They've done a pretty good job investing in the back end of the defense. I think the biggest problem was Brock Purdy was untouched essentially all game. He wasn't under pressure. They didn't make him sweat at all. This is going to be Myles Murphy. He's the lesser developed talent of the Jalen Carters, Will Anderson, Myles Murphy builds where they're all freakishly athletic. Myles Murphy is going to need some time to develop, but Seattle, again, with Pete Carroll, has always done a good job of developing defensive talent. We saw them last year draft really well. They ended up picking up like 5 or 6 guys that were key to this playoff run. And I think they're set on offense. They have the skill positions. They've got everything. I mean, Geno Smith played incredibly well for them. I think they're going to take a 2-year waiver on him, probably a 3-year deal with 2 years guaranteed and a team option on the third. I think this ends up being Miles Murphy on the edge, actually. I think they need to upgrade that pass rush.
I think that's fair. They don't need anything on offense. I mean, obviously, a good quarterback might help. Obviously, Geno's not bad, but Geno is a bridge guy, and I think that he's playing a great bridge guy role. But with Kenneth Walker being drafted last year, they don't need anything. I mean, they have two of the best wide receivers
They
in
have.
the league.
They also
So-
have a really underrated tight end room with Will Dissly and Noah Fant there. So honestly, I just think the name of the game for Seattle is defense, and we're gonna pick this up a little bit. We spent a decent amount of time combing through these first 5 picks.
Yeah.
With the Lions, this could be in any number of positions. I honestly think they need I think they need more help on the back end of this defense. And for me, like I said, this could be a very sneaky Noah Sewell or Trenton Simpson spot where a Trenton Simpson would be used very similarly to Isaiah Simmons in that slot corner sub linebacker overhang defender role. This could be Cam Smith. We've seen them pick corners high in the draft before. I think they need corner help. And honestly, I'm going to go Cam Smith here. Again, 6 foot, excellent recovery speed, very good in man-to-man, very good in zone. He's a very complete corner. I think he's going to rise up draft boards with his athleticism. I think they're set on offense. I think Jared Goff played well enough to earn at least another year for the Lions. Again, they didn't make the playoffs. They were on the cusp of making the playoffs, and I think they're going to only get better. I think right now the name of the game is building this defense for the Lions.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think their offense is their biggest need right now. They have really great running backs. They have a couple good wide receivers there, so I don't think they need to focus on offense at all. And as you said, Jake, I think Jared Goff can be enough of a quarterback to at least get them to the playoffs next year, but their biggest hole is definitely on defense.
Whoever
And-
they get to be on the opposite side of Okuda, I think they're fine. So Okuda's back next year.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a fact. I just think they need to upgrade that pass defense. With Aiden Hutchinson developing, their edge is probably set. That could be an edge spot. I don't think so. We're moving on to the Arizona Cardinals, who just lost J.J. Watt. We're assuming they lose D-Hop in this scenario. I'm going to say that Kyler is still around. I don't think they trade him in the offseason, though that is a possibility. We're unsure whether Quentin Johnston's going to declare for the draft, but if you're going to go out and get a replacement for D-Hop, it may as well be a 6'4" athletic freak. This is where Quentin Johnston goes. I think this is going to end up being their biggest need on offense, considering the fact that after D-Hop, it's Hollywood Brown and A.J. Green, who we don't know if he's going to stick around. And I think Quentin Johnston's a great plug-and-play. 6'4", I think he's about 220, and he's probably going to run in the 4.4s, 4.3s. So I think it's a wonderful pick in the Drake London mold for the Arizona Cardinals.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I agree.
We got the Falcons at 8. Again, this is going to be a wide receiver. Again, the Falcons have a bad roster, but this has to be a wide receiver. And to get a guy, I think it could be any one of these top 3 guys. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to rise up draft boards again with his athleticism. There's a lot of rumors that a lot of people think he's wide receiver 1. He's been hurt this past year. I'm going to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think opposite Drake London, you need a route runner who can be a playmaker, who can catch a drag and take it for 20, rather than, a big jump ball receiver like Drake London. They have Kyle Pitts too. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is a great fit in Atlanta.
I was really. Oh,
I
sorry,
was
go ahead.
gonna say I disagree with this pick, to be completely frank.
That's fine.
Because I think that Calvin Ridley comes back, and I
They
think that
traded
he is
him.
Oh, is he officially traded?
They traded him to the Jags.
He's
Oh,
in
I forgot
Jacksonville.
about that. He's gonna, dude. Trevor, I'm gonna have to keep Trevor Lawrence in fantasy. Holy shit. Anyways, okay. You know what? I no longer disagree with the pick. Go ahead.
That's fine. Go ahead, Kyle.
I don't disagree with the position. I disagree with the person only because I was hoping he would fall to the Giants. That's how much I love. That's how much I love Smith-Njigba. Like he's definitely one of my favorite wide receivers in this year's draft class. I'm really hoping he falls just because he was hurt for a majority of this year. But
that is a
I do
giant
agree.
possibility. That is a giant possibility that he falls. Personally, I'm high on Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he's great. I think he's a wonderful talent, and the Falcons got a good one.
Yeah.
The Panthers were a trade-up scenario. Honestly, I could see the Seahawks moving back and allowing the Panthers to come up. But after the Bears, I don't think there's a team here that is worried about quarterback that the Panthers are worried about taking. This is going to be Will Levis. Do I even have to say it? Anthony Richardson, although higher ranked on Pro Football Network's draft board, Will Levis is quite clearly, I've said it, I think he's essentially Drew Bledsoe. Huge arm, more athletic than Drew Bledsoe was. Hopefully he doesn't have a horrific injury like Drew Bledsoe did, but this dude can sling it. Watching the tape, man, I mean, Will Levis is plagued by being around dudes who aren't as good as the players that they're playing against. That is really all I have. Like, if you watch the tape, Will Levis does make some stupid decisions because he trusts his arm. But for the most part, a lot of his picks are balls that are greatly placed that have to go into traffic because nobody else is as open. And his receivers drop the ball that gets tipped in the air and he gets picked. I really like Will Levis. I said he's QB3 on my board. There is very little room between between Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis on that board. It's essentially 1A, 1B, 1C, and what do you prefer? So I'm going to give the Panthers Will Levis here. I don't really think there's another way they can go. Please let me know if you disagree.
I'll sit on it. I guess what I was gonna say is he. You know what? Go ahead, Kyle. I get my thoughts together.
No, I think Will Levis is a great quarterback. I'm genuinely surprised that Anthony Richardson is ranked higher here for Pro Football. Like, I get it. Anthony Richardson's a great quarterback, but I don't think he's better than Will Levis. I think this is the right spot for Carolina. I think he's the right fit for them. It just all depends on how they can build around Will, because Will's talent is obviously there. It's just he's just going to make a lot of dumb decisions. So unless they have the coaching staff there that can like get him to be a Hall of Famer, then it's a great decision on their part. But in the meantime, I think them drafting a quarterback right now is not. I think they need to focus on other parts of their roster other than a quarterback.
So don't get me wrong. After Steve Wilkes took over, and it is Steve Wilkes, I believe, they actually had close to or a winning record with, Sam Darnold and anybody else who was playing quarterback. So I don't necessarily think they're a piece away. I think they're a piece away from being a piece away. And that's why I think Will Levis is a good pick here.
I remember what I was going to say as well. This sounds to me an awful lot like a specific Buffalo Bills quarterback who we have seen massive regressions from since he lost his offensive coordinator Crutch, who is now leading the Giants to the divisional rounds when they clearly don't deserve to be there.
Whoa!
I think it's all him, to be frank. I think that he took a mediocre team and and absolutely brought them up. So
we'll discuss that on Tuesday. We'll discuss that tomorrow night.
Point being, I think that he needs a good coach, and without a good coach, he will look like an idiot. And again, that's what Josh Allen almost lost to the Dolphins with a third-string quarterback in the playoffs. Like, I don't have any other words to say about it other than Josh Allen has shown clear regression. Still great, but
I mean, I think he's still QB2 in the NFL with Josh Allen. I've got nothing bad to say about him. Moving on to this Eagles pick, I mean, what do they even need? This is the most complete roster in the NFL. I think
best player available, right? Like,
yeah.
That's what they have to do.
So obviously with Fletcher Cox aging, James Bradbury is probably going to move on after the season. James Bradbury is in Philly, right? He moved from the Giants to Philly, not the other way around. Yeah. Okay, good. Sure. That's what I thought. Honestly, I could see this being Brian Bresee out of Clemson. I think that's a great pick for them, get their Fletcher Cox replacement. This could also be corner. Everywhere else, they're just kind of set. This could also be an offensive line replacement with Paris Johnson. Could be a couple of pieces on offense. Could also be Bijan Robinson at running back. I'm going to give him the defensive tackle replacement. I think that's the right way to go.
You said the line. You said the position I thought they were going to do and what they could do. I was thinking offensive line here, solely because to build it, that is their strongest part on this team. If they can have depth on depth on depth on depth for days and years and whatever on this team, Uh, Especially with them having an aging offensive line as well, I think that is the position they will go with here. I don't entirely disagree with your pick because Fletcher Cox is also aging, so like to get his replacement early is a smart decision as well.
Jake,
But
Bryce Young's still on the board, right?
No. Bryce Young went to
Okay.
the Raiders.
Okay.
I was about to lose my mind. I was about to say, for some reason Bryce Young's still on the board here, like let's say that he's still on the board, or like I think that the Eagles trade out and get just a crap ton of assets.
Oh yeah, no,
Uh,
absolutely.
If there's someone up there like that, but anyways, go ahead. I thought he was still on the board for some reason.
No,
who do they
so
have this pick from?
this is the Saints pick for.
Oh, okay. Yep.
No,
okay.
no, who is this? I don't remember. Maybe it's the Saints pick.
It
Yeah.
looks like it would be because the
Yeah.
Saints would be about that position. So yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving to the Tennessee Titans. Again, a roster that could use a lot of fixes. I think the biggest need is wide receiver. I'm going to give them a playmaker. Jordan Addison's a really great route runner, but I don't necessarily think he's the best playmaker on the board. I think they need a guy who can catch the ball and go. That is Kayshon Boutte out of LSU, who said he was staying and then decided to declare for the draft later. We're going to go with Kayshon Boutte.
They need someone across from Traylon Burks, who is there. In my opinion, I think they need someone taller because Traylon Burks is their playmaker. He looked great this year.
That's a fact.
that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I just think it's at this point there isn't a tall receiver left on the board. Like Jordan Addison is 6 foot. Kayshon Boutte is also 6 foot. So I'm just going with the best guy I think fits that scheme. And I think Malik Willis, with his development, is going to need guys who can just catch the ball and go. He needs to be more accurate down the field, absolutely. Again, we're going to speed this up about 26 minutes in, and we're 11 picks in. This is going to be, I mean, the Texans, man, what do I got to say? It's best player available at this point. This could be a Bijan Robinson spot, but I'm not going to go that way. I think looking at the team needs for the Texans, I'm going to pull it up on the screen. I mean, you see quarterback, edge, offensive guard, wide receiver, and offensive center. This could be a line pick. I think you could pick Paris Johnson and move him into guard. I think there's a lot of ways they could go. But my biggest thing is I think they just need to build this roster. I am going to give them I'm going to give them Peter Skoronsky out of Northwestern. I think they're going to move him into guard and allow him to I mean, he has shorter arms for a tackle. He's very well developed. He's a guy who can plug and play. I think this is where Peter Skoronsky goes. They're going to move him into guard and allow him to play there. Again, this could be a quarterback. This could be anywhere. If I'm going to go the team building route with the Texans, they're not taking a quarterback in this year's draft. Peter Skoronsky out of Northwestern.
I don't know how I see them not taking a quarterback. Like I understand what your thought process is, but from every person I have heard, every insight, every article, every single thing has them directed at taking a quarterback this year. So if it's not at 2, it has to be at 12, right?
Listen,
if they're not taking,
I understand all of that. I'm going to go with the team building route from the Texans where they don't take a quarterback this year and try to build the roster. That's where I'm going with this. I genuinely see them taking a quarterback in this year's draft, but we're going the team building route with this one.
all right, enough said.
Now, with the Jets at 13, I genuinely think this Jets roster is really good. They're a quarterback away, and there are no great quarterbacks on the board. I think this is a trade down spot for the Jets. People may disagree with this. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be genuinely aggressive in this year's draft. So we're going to swap the 13 and 20. This is going to involve more pieces. Again, just for the sake of this, it's a first round draft build. We're just going to swap the first round picks. It's the only thing that matters here. And the Seahawks are going to go up. And Nick, like you said earlier, the back end of their defense wasn't wonderful. They added an edge rusher. Looking at the team needs for the Seahawks, again, you're looking at edge, safety, offensive guard, wide receiver, and corner. I think the corner is the way they go here. Keely Ringo's great. Joey Porter Jr. is great. I think Christian Gonzalez fits the mold of what the Seahawks want to do. They're trying to get bigger and faster on the back end. Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon fits the mold. 6'2", can fly, very good in coverage. This is going to be where Christian Gonzalez goes at 13.
I'm
like
genuinely surprised Keely Ringo has fallen this far.
I think the way he played, especially in the college football playoff and at the end of the year, is gonna make him slide. Plus, I'm not sure what he's gonna run in the. I'm not sure what he's gonna run in the 40. His coverage doesn't look as good as these other guys. I understand your concern about Keely Ringo falling.
I do like it. I will say, with the Seahawks having such a good rookie corner this year, I think it makes sense that they would just pick up another one, really, just to shore it up. And then they can move around safety. I don't know, Jamal.
I've said it in a lot of previous mocks too that this is going to be the year of defense for the Seahawks. They're just going to go and build this roster until they can find the guy outside of Geno Smith, and I just don't think it's in this draft class. They could go and trade for Derek Carr and go make a play at that and see what happens. I just don't see it happening. With the Patriots at 14, again, I think this could be a lot of things. It could be an offensive tackle. It could be,
It has to be a wide receiver.
It could be a wide receiver. I'm not sure it has to be if they don't lose Jacoby Myers. Again, I don't hate the Patriots wide receiver room. I like Devontae Parker. I really like Kendrick Bourne. I really like Jacoby Myers, assuming they don't lose him. They're going to move off Nelson Aguilar in the offseason. I don't think they bring him back. His contract's up. It could be a guy like Jordan Addison, who is a great route runner, goes and makes plays, does all those sorts of things. It could also be an offensive tackle like Broderick Jones, who's 6'4", 315 pounds and athletic. It could be Paris Johnson Jr., who's 6'6", 315, and again, athletic. I think they move off Isaiah Wynn. They've got Trent Brown. I'm going to go offensive tackle here. I know that Nick's going to hate it. I genuinely think this could be a Broderick Jones pick. I've seen Bill Belichick reach on offensive linemen in the draft and make them very good. Cole Strange is the perfect example. He gave up 1 sack all year, was great. He was the second best offensive rated rookie on the line of the entire draft class last year. I'm going to go with Paris Johnson Jr. because I think he's better than Broderick Jones for what the Patriots need. Nick, I know you're absolutely going to hate the pick.
Man, offensive line instead of wide receiver. I see what you're doing. It makes sense. If only the Patriots could draft an offensive coordinator instead, because that is their real biggest need.
That's a fact, dude.
So here's the thing. I like your thought process here, Jake. Here's the issue. With your thought process, you're thinking like Bill Belichick is drafting this year. And if we've learned anything in the last week as Patriots fan, for the first time ever, Bill Belichick is seceding to those around him, including Robert Kraft, which means they're going to draft like they should, not like they have. Just like they're going to actually have an offensive coordinator this year, and they're going to hire, hopefully, Gerard Mayo as the defensive coordinator. So, for that reason...
Also, anybody screaming me through the screen that they're going to trade this down, Bill Belichick has never traded down in the draft when he's had a top 15 pick. This isn't a trade down spot. The Patriots are picking at 14. As a matter of fact, I think they could be aggressive and move up into this top 8 spot if they want to.
I also agree with that, and I do think it'd be for an offensive weapon. And it obviously
If Quentin Johnson goes off the board at 7, I think they get real aggressive and try to move up in this 8-9 spot where they get either Kayshon Boutte or Jackson Smith and Jigba. But with Jordan Addison still on the board, let's say the Patriots go this way, the Packers have no other choice but to take Jordan Addison. Christian Watson has developed really well, but outside of that, Aaron Rodgers and or Jordan Love, whoever their quarterback is, has nobody else to throw to. So we're going to go Jordan Addison at 15, and the Green Bay Packers right the wrongs of last year.
If the Packers do not draft a wide receiver this year, they're the biggest idiots in the NFL history. How many more years does the Packers need to say we need a wide receiver and then not pick and not draft one?
I can't wait until they don't draft wide receiver and
everybody goes nuts.
Aaron Rodgers is on another team, but that's what I'm telling you right now. I swear to God. Anyways.
So, normally I would draft a quarterback for the Commanders. They have been telling offensive coordinators that Sam Howell is the guy of the future. So, with that being said, they're going to go get a big thumper at linebacker, give him Noah Sewell here at 16. It's a wonderful pick for them. I like it. That's where they're going to go there. I don't really think that anything else is really an option with the way the board has fallen. You could say Keely Ringo. I don't think so.
We'll never not see him as Thumper the Rabbit ever again. So feel free to continue.
The Steelers at 17 need a corner. Keely Ringo's slide stops.
Man, all the way to 17. The way he kept sliding, I was like, just keep sliding to the Giants at this point. Like, just keep the fall coming. Like, I was taking it. But
Oh man.
Giants don't need a corner at all, so that wouldn't really made sense realistically, but it's fine.
At 18, the Lions could think about getting Anthony Richardson here. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback. I think they're going to go to a versatile defensive player in Trenton Simpson. That's really all I have to say. I think Seattle and Detroit both have really good offenses. They need to focus on defense and hunker those down so people stop putting up 40 points on them.
Great pick. I think that's exactly the way I would have done it too.
So, assuming that Tom Brady leaves the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and assuming they don't go make a trade for Derek Carr, Jimmy G, and or whoever else is on the market, I think this is where Anthony Richardson could go. Rumors have it that they really like Kyle Trask, but Anthony Richardson is a big, athletic, strong-arm quarterback. Does need time to develop, but with the pieces that they have on offense, they can throw in Anthony Richardson immediately and see what happens. I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson here. I know that there's a plethora of different ways they could go. They could also be a Bijan Robinson spot. That's just what I genuinely, in this draft, think the Bucs just have to go get a quarterback. This team is good. They've been hurt a lot. That's really the downfall of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the last couple of seasons is they've just been hurt. And if they got healthy, they'd probably be an 11 to 12 win team this year.
Yeah, I could see that. I think their
Yeah.
new head coach kind of holds them back a little bit, but
I think Tom's gone, but
Yeah, Tom's gone.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles isn't the best head coach of all time.
they did
and-
say Tampa did release last night, regardless of the outcome of tonight's game, that Bowles will still be the head coach next year, which I think is fine. I think that's fine. They made the playoffs, so like I don't know. You can't really. I know they made the playoffs just barely, but like I don't know how you can fire him in that spot. So
No, and I mean, again, they've been hurt. Like, this team has been hurt everywhere all year. Their offensive line hasn't been healthy since training camp.
yeah,
I think they've had, like, 3, like, starter caliber players hurt essentially all year long. The Jets here, again, their team is very, very good. Like, I think the team itself is really good. I'm looking at the team needs. You could see guard, you could see safety. I'm going to go Brian Branch here. I think this is a perfect New York Jets player coming out of Nick Saban's system. His safeties tend to be really good. Brian Branch is a really good safety. I like him. I think the Jets are just going to continue to add pieces. I don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback position. Honestly, I assume they trade for a Jimmy G and or Derek Carr, and honestly, that's going to be real scary in that division.
the AFC East is about to become what we all thought the AFC West was going to be this year, and it's going to be absolutely terrifying for you guys. I'm gonna enjoy watching it. However, as a Giants fan, I'm not gonna enjoy having to play the AFC East next year. But it's gonna be a fun division
I
to
agree.
watch because regardless of who the quarterback is for the Jets, they are gonna be competitive. Like regardless if they keep anyone in their quarterback room this year, they will be better if they can stay healthy. Like their lack of a quarterback really does hold them back. But regardless, I think the Jets will be competitive. The Dolphins are going to stay competitive. The Bills, obviously. And then the Patriots, you never know. And I think they obviously will be competitive like they were this year. So
The Chargers at 21, I could see a lot of different ways. I could see this being a tackle. I could see it being Broderick Jones. I could see it being a corner. I could see it being a third wide receiver, but with the wide receivers left on the board, it doesn't make any sense. Honestly, I'm just going to go with Joey Porter Jr., who I think is the best corner left on the board. I think this team needs defensive help badly, and J.C. Jackson, who they paid last offseason, didn't do them any favors. So they're going to go and get a corner and try to shore up the back end of that defense.
yes, there's no other way to put it. Yes. It made me so mad. I lost full composure for the. I'm a secondary Chargers fan, and I lost full.
I'm not going to lie to you. This Ravens pick, there's nothing. Their biggest need is wide receiver. There is nothing else to be said about it. And there are no wide receivers on the board that would be, there's none left to draft at this point. They could have been aggressive and moved up. They're also a move up threat at this point. I think this team just needs to trade down and try to acquire assets. I'm going to have them trading down to 29. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to get aggressive here and looking at the teams above them, realize that the best running back on the board may be gone by the time they get to 29. And so the Buffalo Bills are going to move up to 22 and draft Bijan Robinson, go and get the guy, help out their quarterback, as you mentioned earlier, Nick, with a stronger running game. And this makes the Bills offense entirely complete, and that scares the ever-living shit out of me. But Bijan Robinson to the Bills at 22.
Yeah, that's a great decision. I was actually surprised you didn't have the Ravens move up sooner. Not that they moved up in this situation, but like when you said that they are a move up threat, I completely agree with you because their biggest hole on offense is wide receiver, like a couple other teams above them. So I could see them being extremely aggressive to trade into a top 10 pick to get a wide receiver there.
The Vikings.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
All I was gonna say is I was thinking in this moment I wouldn't be surprised if like the Patriots traded up around this area.
Yeah, I think that's true. Honestly, the Vikings at 23. This isn't gonna be a sexy pick, I don't think. Where are the Vikings on here? They need a wide receiver, a tight end, a corner. Is T.J. Hawkinson on the last year of his deal? I'm confused as to why this says they need a tight end.
I think so. I think he is on an expiring contract.
Okay, let's assume that they don't re-sign T.J. Hawkinson, which I think would be a mistake. They're going to go get Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. Honestly, if they need a tight end and getting him at 23 is a steal, I think Michael Mayer is going to have a very, very good NFL career. He's one of those Jason Witten molds who's a very good security blanket, can always get open, and will be to Kirk Cousins what Jason Witten was to Tony Romo for all those years.
I'm with you. If that's the case, they don't resign TJ. I think they do resign TJ. I think it'd be a massive mistake. Although if he wants to come to New England, that's fine.
No, I think they're gonna re-sign TJ, but let's just assume in this universe they don't.
For the T.J. Hawkinson has one more year on his contract.
Okay, so
So
I low key think you should change the pick. I can't count. I think it should be to a defensive player.
Either way, I think Michael Mayer's a good investment, and if they can go 2 tight ends, they don't really have a third wide receiver, so they can split T.J. Hawkinson into the slot or even put Jay Jetta in the slot with T.J. out wide. I think this is just about acquiring weapons. They also could go defense here. There's a lot of defensive needs on that team. I think they're just going to try to, build it through free agency, and there's a lot of defensive talent down the board that I think they're going to like. I think this is just adding to their offense. The Jags.
T.J. Hawkinson, sorry, just really quick before we move on to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
T.J. Hawkinson was absolutely tearing up the Giants' secondary last night. So just using him in the future will be the benefit of
He
the
was the only
Vikings.
fucking one. Jesus Christ.
Yes. Never mind. I'll save that for tomorrow night. But anyway.
I think the Jags have the easiest pick here, by the way, the whole draft.
What do you think it should be, Nick? I'll go with that.
It can't be on offense, especially
it can't be.
forgetting that they had getting Calvin Ridley. They need nothing on offense. Travis Etienne has been a fucking stud.
That's a
and
fact.
Trevor Lawrence is also a stud. And also all the rest of those wide receivers are they're decent. They're decent.
Plus,
So,
you get Calvin Ridley.
and they get Calvin Ridley. I don't think they need anything on offense. I think it has to be defensive, and you take the best defensive player on the board because you need him everywhere. So.
Honestly, I mean, I could see this being Clark Phillips so that they can get a slot corner. Phillips isn't going to play on the outside. I mean, he's 5'10", 183. He's not a guy you put on the boundary and are, feeling great about it. This could be a Tyree Wilson spot. Their defense needs a lot. I mean, looking at the team needs, you got corner, safety. Most of it's on the back end. Eli Ricks out of Alabama, I think, is actually a sneaky pick here at 6'2", 190. They need a boundary corner. I actually think that's the way they're going to go. Eli Ricks out of Alabama.
I think that's fair. I think best corner is an equal shout. So
Kyle, 25.
Yes, sir.
Your team needs an offensive lineman. There are no receivers left on the board that I think are worthy of the 25 overall pick. You could trade down here and acquire assets, but I'm going to give you Broderick Jones, and you should be happy about it.
I'm not complaining with that pick. The couple things that I think the Giants do need. One is offensive tackle, 100%, or linemen in general. So yeah, that's 100% necessary. Even though their O line looks pretty damn good last night. Second overall, I think the biggest need is wide receiver, but I really think they're going to go out and make a big trade this year. So I don't think they're going to really draft a wide receiver.
You think it
But
could be
the
D-Hop?
I don't know. That is a potential, but I'm eyeing someone else that I want them to trade, but I'm gonna save that for my prediction for tomorrow. So stay tuned. But the other big position I really hope they draft this year is we need to stop the run. Our run defense has been pretty atrocious all year long. So getting some more interior defense would be really beneficial.
I think Gervin Dexter's definitely a possibility. I think Osiris Torrance is also a possibility at that spot. But moving to the Cowboys, you've got Micah Parsons on the edge. I think you have two good edge rushers for the Cowboys. Looking for their team needs here. Where are they? I can't. Oh, there. Wide receiver, guard, running back, corner, and linebacker.
Couldn't agree more. I think they trade down to
Yeah.
I think that they trade down with the Chiefs. I honestly think the Chiefs are still looking for some defensive. I think maybe the Chiefs trade up to try and get some defensive help. Trade down the 30.
I'm fine with that. We can do that.
And then the Cowboys get Josh Downs at 30. That's my guess.
That would probably be the right way to go. I mean, I could see them picking edge here too. But we'll go with your thought process, Nick. I like that. We'll go.
I don't know
trade
why
down
they
spot.
need edge. I get your point, but I don't know why they need
No,
edge
no, I'm talking about the
because they're
Chiefs moving up to
okay, okay.
26.
Yes, I agree. I think the Chiefs go.
I also
edge here.
at 30, we'll see when we get there. I've got a lot of thoughts about them trading down to 30. Chiefs, I think this just becomes, Tyree Wilson's still on the board, and he probably doesn't fall this far, but the way the board has fallen, they're going to move up and get their guy because the Bengals, Broncos, and Ravens could all go edge there. The Bengals, honestly, again, I'm going to look at their team needs, cornerback, edge, defensive tackle, yeah. I'm going to go edge. I think Isaiah Foskey's probably the guy here. They need a pass rush, and that's all that needs to be said about it. The Broncos need offense. Their defense is fine. Their defense played spectacular. We're going to talk, they need tackle. I think they need interior offensive line too. But with the Broncos, I actually think there's a lot of offensive tackle talent here. Anton Harrison could be good, but I don't love the 6'5", 315. Matthew Bergeron, I think, is a better pick out of Syracuse, 6'5", 322. Darnell Wright could be a sneaky pick here because he's 335, and they need somebody just to go to that right tackle spot and be an absolute mauler. I'm going to go with Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse here. I really like Matthew Bergeron. I think he's fundamentally sound and someone who can just be a plug-and-play guy. I really like this pick. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
I mean, dude, if we're looking at the Broncos, bro, they need everything. I don't know how else to put it. They need the whole kitchen sink
On
for me.
offense, yeah.
So they need pretty much everything on offense, and even their defense didn't feel that great. I thought it was decent. It didn't feel great. But yeah, I think offensive tackle is a good place to start.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Nick on that.
That's a fact. No, the Baltimore Ravens are going to go defense here. It could be a wide receiver. I think Josh Downs at 29 makes a lot of sense. I think actually, you know what? Let's give assuming Lamar Jackson is still there, let's give him a weapon. We're going to go Josh Downs at 29 to the Ravens. This could have been a Clark Phillips spot. They need corner help. I'm going to say they're finally going to invest in this offense and actually go get wide receivers. They've needed them for a long time. It has not helped Lamar Jackson's development with the fact that they don't have any and then traded Marquise Brown. I will never understand that move. But that's where I'm going to go here. They're going to go Josh Downs at 29.
You're the Cowboys. You're pissed.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely pissed.
And I think you almost trade down again. We're not going to do that because we're only doing the first round. But I think you almost trade down again because you don't need a lot. But I guess at this point you're looking at do the Cowboys need? I feel like the Cowboys need a safety.
The Cowboys need an offensive guard. The Cowboys they need defensive help. I mean, running back, corner, and linebacker, the bottom three. Wide receivers, the number one need. Offensive guard is the second. Zach Martin's not getting any younger, and their offensive line is aging considerably fast. I think Osiris Torrance out of Florida is the pick here. This dude can run block. He fits what you want to do. And that brings us to the Eagles, where they didn't get to go and get Bijan, which is fine. I think this pick becomes Jahmyr Gibbs, and I know I've got guys like Antonio Johnson, Clark Phillips, and B.J. Ojolari falling out of the first round here. It's just the way the board fell. I think a lot of the teams who pick at the top end of the second round are going to be extremely happy. I think this becomes a Jahmyr Gibbs pick because you need a pass catching running back. You add to the weapons of the offense, and Jahmyr Gibbs is just one of those dudes he can just make plays. I absolutely love Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not Bijan Robinson by any means, but I think that's where I'm going to go and just say, that Jahmyr Gibbs helps you become better.
I don't mind it. I almost think that this spot gets traded out for and someone pushes up to get Hendon Hooker. That's my honest thoughts. Right before the second round. I think
I
on the first
actually
night.
don't see Hendon Hooker going before like the mid-second round. I'm not going to lie to you, but I understand why you say that.
I just think that there could be a team that maybe didn't get a quarterback that might want one. I don't know, maybe a Seattle, someone like that.
Yeah.
That could look at something like that that'd be willing to move up X amount of spots, probably not a lot, just to get Hendon Hooker in a spot that might be undervalued, overvalued. Although he looked really good, like.
I really like Hendon Hooker. It's his age that concerns me. He's going to be 25. Like, he's the same age as Lamar Jackson right now. It's the same thing with Stetson Bennett. Well, guys, thank you for stopping by our NFL mock draft with trades. Here are the full results as I'm scrolling down the screen. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you think we did right. Let us know what you think we did wrong. And have a good time. See you guys. Make sure to go like, subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to go like our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @HighSchoolBackups. See you next time.